First off, I want to thank the brave men and women who work behind the wall. I want to thank them on a national level because their job goes unrecognized.
How do they try to turn a guard?
Well, correctional officer. Sorry, I apologize. But correctional officer. How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi, host of Tier Talk, and today I want to talk about staying in your lane. Is everybody here familiar with that expression? Stay in your lane? It's a very important expression to have. Now, I know as correctional officers, we wear many hats, but we have to remember at all times there are levels of responsibility that's not for us to handle. And we have to be able to refer that level of responsibility to the proper hands. So when we get back from our sponsors, we're going to be talking about staying in your lane. As hard as that may sound, I'm going to say it again. Stay in your lane. This discussion could protect your career. I stand by for our sponsors.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Thank you guys for listening to our sponsor. You know, the best advice I was ever given in my career was stay in my own lane. I used to scramble. I used to want to solve issues for everyone. But then I turned out that I can't do that. That there's certain responsibilities that are not mine and that have to be given to the qualified person to make that decision, or the department that's qualified to do that. And the reason why the person told me that was, hey, Gans, first off, you don't want to get in trouble for making a decision that you're not qualified to make. Second thing is, you don't want to step on the toes of the department or the individual who's making that decision, who's qualified to make that decision. And also, it's to cover your own ass. You know, you did what you're responsible for. Now pass the ball to the party who is responsible for that next piece of the puzzle. It emphasizes the word teamwork. And guys, when I say stay in your own lane, I'm not talking about being isolated. I'm actually talking about teamwork. Everybody brings a level of responsibility to the table that completes the mission. So know what your responsibility is and don't spread yourself too thin where you wind up getting in trouble for something that you're not responsible for. Because I'm going to tell you something, when shit hits the fan, excuse my language, someone's going to come in and say, were you qualified to make that decision? And what are you going to say? No. And at the end of the day, they don't care the reasons why you made that decision. All they care about is were you qualified to make that decision. Give you an example. If you're an officer and you're working the floor and an inmate says, I'm going to kill myself, you're not going to sit there and make the determination, oh, you're not going to kill yourself. We know you're pulling a game. Stay in the cell. Nope. You're going to call your supervisor, and hopefully your supervisor gets in touch with mental health. Mental health will ultimately see the inmate and then provide the clearance when able. But at the end of the day, that's their level of responsibility. Therefore, you did what you had to do. You reported it. Your supervisor did what they had to do. Everybody stayed in their lane and went to mental health, and it got the job done more effectively because we knew which party was responsible for each decision that had to be made. And staying in your own lane, as I said, is also a cover your ass. Because think about it now. If there's a mess up, well, I know I did what I had to do. It was this department here that didn't come through, but that's okay because I took note that I called them and this is what their response was. But I made an effort to defer that responsibility where it's supposed to go, and unfortunately they didn't act accordingly. As you start to move up, especially in the administrative level, you start becoming responsible for bigger areas, so there is going to be that level of responsibility that falls on you. But we still go back to those department heads. You know, we still not try to micromanage those departments because, again, they are qualified individuals, mental health, medical, social services. They're the ones that are the experts in that jobs. Most of the time we have a concern usually facilitating the interaction between departments. But ultimately, unless we have to get involved, we usually go by the decisions that they make because they're the qualified personnel. And if we go against it, we have a lot of explaining to do because, again, they're the qualified individuals. And again, if it's not so overt, sometimes there are concerns, but most of the concerns really isn't about departmental structure. It's more about an individual that may not be doing their job the way it's supposed to be done. And again, that's a different ball game. But in the meantime, staying in your lane is what's going to protect your career. Now remember that. You're staying in your lane for what reasons? First off, You stay in your lane so you can focus fully on your responsibilities. You're staying in your lane so you can cover your own ass. It is. You're passing the ball. Hey, I did my part. It's your turn to do your part. That's one thing. And the other thing is again, you don't want to conflict with the people or the departments that are already doing something. You want to stay in your own lane because God forbid you make a decision that conflicts with what they already have going on, and then just becomes a cluster. And now, unfortunately, you're the one that's going to get caught out there because you made a decision that wasn't in your area of responsibility. And watch what happens when that hits the fan. You have a tough time explaining that. But guys, I covered this very generally, but what are your thoughts about staying in your lane? Has anyone ever given you that advice? Now remember, guys, we know what our level of responsibilities are. We know as we move up, we have more levels of responsibility. So when I say stay in your lane, it's staying in your lane within your responsibilities. You really don't want to travel out because, again, if you do travel out, you're going to make a decision that really isn't in your ball field, and you're going to get caught up with that. So again, I'd like your thoughts on that. Has anyone ever given you that advice to stay in your lane? And give me a specific. Tell me if there's ever a concern where you had to face, where maybe you know someone that didn't stay in their lane and didn't do what they were supposed to get done, or didn't defer some form of responsibility that should have went to another individual or department, and what was the outcome? As I mentioned before, the officer with the suicide. So again, just curious about your thoughts on this topic. I think it's a great topic. So as always, guys, the show is here. Talk if you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, hit that bell. That bell's going to notify you every time I post up a video. All right, guys, stay safe.